ahead and get started because we've got a lot of good things to share with you today. Hi, I am Jessie Jones from Young Entrepreneur Institute, and I want to say thank you so much for joining the Celebrate Youth Entrepreneurship After School Watch Party, the first we've done before, and for 2022. And I want to just say welcome. I think we're expecting about 250 students today and coming from 15 different states and 3 countries, including Panama. So we've got people coming from all over the place, and we're really excited that you could join us. So we're going to try to wrap the program up in a little less than an hour because I know a lot of you may be transitioning out to the next place around 6 o'clock. So we'll try to wrap it up a little bit early. We're going to, and it'll be recorded, so you can watch it the end of it later if you have to miss it. But we'll be starting with a panel with a couple of young entrepreneurs, and then following that with a recorded keynote and interview with another inspiring young man who will be our keynote speaker, Shaquille Jackson from Chicago. And then if you stick around until the end, you'll be able to hear about how you can get involved in a service learning project in your community. So throughout the show, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. Not everybody will be able to see them, all of the audience, but all the panelists can see them. So we'll make sure that we can get your questions answered as we go. We said before, I know a lot of you signed up to get some special treats. So if you've got a special treat you're eating right now, please share in the chat. We'd like to know what you decided to get. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to today's MC, Scott Mann from Venture Lab, who is coming to us from Austin, Texas. Oh, and I'm coming from Cleveland, Ohio. I forgot to mention that. So all over the place. And you can let us know where you're coming from as well in the chat. So here, I'm going to pass it over to Scott.
Hey everyone, I'm the Director of Education with Venture Lab, a youth entrepreneurship serving organization. And today here to facilitate a great conversation with Ginshu and Madeline, 2 amazing change makers and entrepreneurs. And I think adults and people in the education community often say, and for the youth out here joining, like, you're going to change the world someday, like you're going to really make a difference and tomorrow's leader. But the youth are going to meet in just a moment. They are changing the world right now. Their ideas and the actions that they are taking in service of their community and their entrepreneurial ideas are making a difference. And you also have that power to make a difference. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Ginshu and Madeline. Hi, Ginshu. Hi, Madeline. You want to come off mute? I'm going to start with you, Madeline. Would you please let us know where you're coming in from and what you're up to?
Yeah, so I am from Chicago. However, I am currently in New York City participating in an entrepreneurship challenge.
Excellent. And that's through the Nifty organization, correct? Yes. And so y'all, she's not just participating in some challenge. She's in a competition at the national level to go to the global level. So don't let her be modest. She's out there doing great things. Thanks for joining us, Madeline. What about you, Ginshu?
I am coming from the island of Oahu, which is in the state of Hawaii. Okay. Super excited to be here. My name is Ginshu Price, and yeah, I'm the founder of Bottles for College.
Well, yeah, keeping it going with you. Tell us about your entrepreneurial idea, Ginshu.
So my entrepreneurial idea, it's not exactly an idea, it's more of rather just something that's already been happening.
Yeah.
It's called Bottles for College. It is an official 501c3 nonprofit organization that collects recyclable cans and bottles to fund college tuition for kids here in Hawaii. So Mr. Scott just dropped a link to one of the after school programs that I'm a part of currently that kind of talks about like what we've done. So the 4 pillars of this organization are education, environment, community, and lifestyle. We're trying to clean our aina, or how we call it, the environment, inspiring education for the communities here in Hawaii, bringing the community together and integrating that all into a healthy lifestyle. And our main goal, just to kind of like wrap this up, our main goal is to collect 2 to 4 million cans of bottles each year, at least. So annually, 1 to 2 Hawaii students can get a full 4-year ride to college. That way, we're able to give more opportunities to the entire community here in Hawaii and eventually expanding past our islands.
Wow, that is a wonderful goal. And I really hope that you reach that. As you said, this is not an idea. You're taking action. It starts with that idea and that thought, but you have put in the work and the time to make it happen on the islands. And I really hope you're able to scale that. What about you, Madeline? Can you share a little bit about your entrepreneurial venture?
Yeah, so my idea for this entire like competition and the class that I took was an app that would help children with autism communicate through an app on any device. Really, you can download it on any device, and it essentially takes the parent and guardian's voice and turns it into a system in which there are icons on screen, and the child can click the icon, and the parent and guardian's voice is emitted in the word that the child is trying to communicate with. And this helps provide comfort for the child, as well as a learning system is incorporated into the app that helps the child become familiar with certain words before then added, and personalization features for the child individually.
That is amazing. One thing that I've noticed that both of y'all have, it's kind of a foundation, and this is something that entrepreneurs have in common, is you work from your passion and you have an interest, but then you also, one of those entrepreneurial mindsets is empathy, that kind of the thoughts and feelings of others. So Ginchu, you're thinking about how might you help youth in your community and eventually globally access education and improve the environment. And Hawaiian, it's your kuleana, like you're looking for that responsibility to take care of the aina, but also your community, your ohana. And Madeline, this idea of helping others with autism, it is such a challenge for families and for their caregivers. I think it's a great way of how entrepreneurship, most people associate it with starting a business and profit, which we know that value creation is a part of that. Like you have to keep your business open. But I commend both of you for the empathy lens that you're bringing to your work. I'm curious, Madeline, if you might tell us, kind of coming back to the passion, entrepreneurs have a passion for what they're doing. So where did your idea come from? What kind of was that fire inside you that made you want to pursue this idea?
Yeah, so from a relatively young age, I always knew that when I got older, I wanted to work with children. I wanted to go into a career that had to work with children. And when I started the Nifty class, I really wanted to focus on that passion of wanting to work with children. And I wanted to find a community that I could genuinely find a solution and find a way to help them. And so when I began to do research on different underrepresented communities and different problems in different communities and children, I came across children on the spectrum, and having to do with children and having a way to then try to help use my ideas to then help them was something that really drove me.
That is amazing. Having that process where you're doing the research, really looking into it. And I just want to lift up again that empathy and your problem solving and focus on helping others. You have a teacher heart, it sounds like, that you want to step into that space, even though it might not be the classroom. And you did mention Nifty, the program that you use, the network for teaching entrepreneurship. And it's a great youth entrepreneurship organization that provides very structured programs for in-school and out-of-school opportunities for youth like yourself, Madeline. It sounds like that program served you well.
Yeah, Nifty has taught me a lot of not only entrepreneurial skills, but just life skills when it comes to communicating my ideas and speaking with others and learning how to handle fast-paced changes and even sometimes failure. It's taught me a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, that's one of those, another entrepreneurial mindsets. I'll be throwing stickers at you the whole time, Madeline. That's that adaptability that you have to jump into. So Ginshu, what is your why? What kind of brought you to this place where you're now taking these actions?
Well, I feel like the biggest thing was like globally Hawaii is, I guess you would say, called a paradise with our great beaches and so forth. But as you dive past that, you see that we have a lot of social problems, including things like high living costs, low educational standards. And I kind of want to change that. Like I wanted Balls for College to be a way to not only help bring opportunities back to our communities here in Hawaii, but all, and to clean the environment, but also to inspire education. Because right now, one of the biggest things that like I've noticed like even with a lot of my classmates is that they're not inspired to take care of their education, which then leads to not being able to bring their families to better places, which they all like have that in at least in the back of their minds. And I kind of wanted to make a pathway to bring more opportunity to the general community.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I think both of you have your business, your this organization that you've created, and Madeline, this concept that you have for your app. They're all really developed. Like you've taken it pretty far. You've done a lot of work. So I want to go back in time a little bit, especially for those out there that are thinking like, where do I start? Like, I don't think I can do something like that. I wouldn't know what the first thing to do. But I want to let people know that it's a process and it takes time and it's small steps. So thinking back, Madeline, what was your first experience with this idea of entrepreneurship or problem solving and making something?
I would say my earliest experience with any type of entrepreneurship at all was when I was young and would do something like set up a lemonade stand outside and like try to sell it to all of the people walking by and my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
I had never really had an experience in a class before with entrepreneurship. So the Nifty class as a whole was my first experience in that sense of creating something completely my own and completely my own thoughts. But something as simple as creating a lemonade stand was something that was probably one of my first experiences.
Do you remember how old you were?
Must have been in elementary school. I can't remember my exact age.
That's a great place to start. And you mentioned in a prior conversation, we had a STEM class that you took as well.
Oh yeah.
How did that influence your thinking?
In middle school, I did take different robotics and engineering classes where we had to solve a lot of problems. So we'd be given, like, for example, in engineering, we had to build bridges to hold a certain amount of weight. And so we were given the problem of you need to hold this amount of weight, but you need to design some type of bridge that would then hold it. And so in that sense, we had to come up with a lot of problem solving and different solutions to different things.
You get another sticker, Madeline. There, you're in New York, and I'm still throwing stickers at you. Problem solving is one of those mindsets and ways of thinking that transfers entrepreneurially, but also into other careers or jobs you might have. Definitely one of those skills that people are looking for. What about you, Ginshu? Thinking back, what's your entrepreneurial experience?
Oh man, I think it kind of contrasts with Madeline's because hers is more of like the problem solving. Mine was more rather like making your opportunities. You're kind of like bringing me down memory lane. When I was young, we had a tree that bore a type of fruit called mountain apples.
Mm-hmm.
And as a little kid, like maybe 4 or 5 years old, I would like help pick them, and then I would go out to the street and sell them, kind of like a lemonade stand, but instead like a mini fruit stand. And I think that was like probably one of my very first experiences in entrepreneurship. But then my parents also had storefronts. They had a baby store and a bakery when I was in like 3rd grade or so. And there I got to kind of learn about like how you interacted with the community, how to like not only give back using your services, but also getting them interested with what you're trying to give to them. So like I would make hand-drawn flyers, and I kind of learned how to like talk to people more about like, I guess kind of like the PR side of things in a very watered down sort of sense. And even with Balls for College, it kind of like taught me about the growth of a business. Like it started off with going and talking to people at beaches or at parks, Little League games, telling them about my organization. And then eventually it would be talking to business owners and bigger entities. But in a sense, it kept that very strong foundation, like you were mentioning before about having a foundation for your idea.
Yes, and foundation for the skills. You said kind of a watered down version, but I see it more as kind of stairs. Like it's those initial experiences.
Oh yeah, like very the basic version of it. So I could eventually build up to the more complex thing.
And those experiences are necessary. And I find it interesting. You both mentioned communication and how that's been a big part of it. You've learned to just talk about not just your idea, but that confidence is probably transferred into other areas of your life as you're able to then, Madeline, I know you have an internship coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am currently an intern at the company Shure. They sell headphones and microphones and a lot of different audio-based products. And so I have been a marketing intern there since last summer, and I have been offered an extension on to this internship. So I'm going to return in the summer and continue working there.
That's awesome. And I think that was probably that path. I mean, that path was opened up by Nifty, correct? In your experience with entrepreneurship. That's wonderful. Jeannie's calling me out. She wants to know if Ginshu gets a sticker. And so, yes, I had one here, opportunity seeking. And I like the way you described it. Ginshu is a little bit different than the problem solving. Entrepreneurs come into their path differently and in different ways. And it's not always solving a problem or filling a need. Well, I guess when you see the opportunity of that fruit on the tree, quite literally picking the fruit. And I think you're solving the need of someone that's thirsty, like your user has a demand. So yeah, definitely not left out of the sticker game, Yinshu. Don't worry, we'll get you in there. Kind of as we talk about these mindsets, one of the big ones, and Madeline, you mentioned it earlier, was failure. And so I wondered if you'd start with thinking back. It can be recent or remote past. What's an experience you've had with failure, and what did you learn from it?
Well, in the past, the very beginning of Nifty, you need to come up with some type of idea. And so when creating the idea, I experienced some failure in the sense that some things didn't quite align with what exactly I wanted to accomplish, or I was quite literally participating in a competition. And so with a competition, you experience failure or you get feedback. And so I received a lot of different criticism from judges, not necessarily bad, but it helped me improve on what I was doing. And today I competed in a competition in the global level, and I'm not advancing in that. So that's another experience with failure, but I am taking the opportunity and I'm taking the experience that I got from it and using that to kind of better my ideas and try to work on it. So
that gives me the tingles, Madeline. Like failure is feedback. Like it is a moment of, strong emotion, but the way that you're putting that perspective on it, that this is going to make me better, is wonderful, and one that I think hopefully those that are viewing can take and incorporate into their own view. That's awesome. Ginshu, what about you? What's failure been like for you in the past, and what did you learn from it?
One failure that kind of like taught me, well, overall, like as Balls for College grew, the amount of work that came into it grew. So at first it started to become a little overwhelming because of the fact that I had to learn about organization and how to overcome, like how to like exactly take my system and innovate it into one that would work better and bigger to be able to like get myself to the next level, but also make sure that I'm handling it at a good rate. One more of like a direct failure, in the last year or so, like I proposed the idea of partnering with a local tourist attraction here in Hawaii.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they rejected it. So that kind of taught me about rejection, that even though you might have something positive or something that you feel like would help people, not everyone's going to agree with that. And you just have to learn to keep on going and keep on growing so you can show that, hey, this is working. Kind of like the idea of perseverance.
Well, I wish I had a bell or something every time I got to give you a sticker. So there's your persistence and grit sticker, Ginshu. It is that not giving up. And when you get that feedback that you may classify also as a moment of failure, you can work through that and keep going and learn from it. Yeah, it's such a great conversation. It's so great to talk with you. I had some other questions for you, but I kind of want to go to the chat here because we have one here from Kyle is saying he's got a student that has a really great question, kind of getting to the nuance of this word entrepreneur. So when did you feel like you could self-identify as an entrepreneur? For Madeline, for you, was there a moment when you're like, you know what, I am an entrepreneur?
I think by the time I thought that I was an entrepreneur, I think I had been one for a little bit beforehand. I think as soon as you have something that's your idea and that you know it's yours and you are passionate about it and you truly want to advocate for it, you are an entrepreneur. And I think sometimes people think you have to be like successful, you have to have something tangible, or you have to do all of these things in order to be an entrepreneur. But I really think as soon as you have something that's your idea and you are very, very passionate about it, then you're already on the right path. So
Kiju, did you have any thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with Madeline. The Oxford Dictionary would disagree with me, but for me, the entrepreneur word is more rather a mindset than rather a title. Because it's kind of just like not exactly like, hey, I'm going to make my own business. It's more rather that idea of going out and getting something, taking that opportunity and seizing it, whether it's to solve a problem like fixing a bridge. In fact, we actually did that in 6th grade because of a small bridge that we have here in Hawaii. Or it's to like just amplify something. Whatever the case is, it's more rather getting that opportunity and having that right mindset for an entrepreneur.
I'm not going to add anything onto that other than to hold up those stickers that I've been giving you from afar. Those are the entrepreneurial mindsets. And as we set a timer to be punctual, Kyle, thank you. Tell your student, thank you very much for the question. We really appreciate that. I think that's a great way to end our time together. Before we sign off and transition, I just want to lift up all of the adults out there in the room, all of the educators, all the families, parents, caregivers, teachers, instructors, however you identify yourself, you make a difference in the life of youth. And I know that Madeline Ginshu and all of you kind of looking back, there was that adults that made a difference in their life. So we're thankful for the work that you do on behalf of Venture Lab, YEI, NIFTY, all of the youth serving organizations. Keep up the great work. And Madeline Ginshu, thank you so much for your time today. I wish you, Ginshu, the best of luck in your big goals. Let us know. You've got now a network of friends and allies that will work to help support that. And Madeline, enjoy New York while you're there for the next little bit, and best of luck on your internship moving forward. All right, well, we are now going to transition over. Yeah, give them a round of applause, y'all, if you're joining in or watching the recording of this. Go ahead and give them a round of applause. They've done a lot of great work, and I'm definitely not the last we'll be hearing from them.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Scott. And also thank you, Young Entrepreneur Institute, for this opportunity. Super excited to be able to share everything about Balls for College to everyone. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Super excited.
You too. Y'all take care.
bye.
And now we're going to hear from Shaquille Jackson. He's currently a 14-year-old freshman out of Chicago. But he started his journey back at the age of 8, I think, when he officially began his nonprofit. And I'm going to let him, he's got a pre-recorded video here, and I hope you enjoy his words, his message. Take that inspiration, bring it back to where you are. There's going to be a great activity at the end as well that you can incorporate in your programs, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us.